really liked math in school, and so I was thinking about going into a math career. But then I just thought about the social side of being in school and connecting with people. And so, you know, being an accountant, you don't always sort of get that social aspect of it, crunching numbers and all that sort of stuff. So, because my dad was a teacher and we were active in sports and band and all that stuff, I was at school all the time. And so, being at school all the time, I just kind of thought, you know what, this isn't so bad. I had really good experiences in elementary school and high school, and so I just decided to go to college and keep going to school, and I've gone to school ever since. At times, I wish it was a little more applicable. You know, we'd kind of go through projects and things like that. I think where I really grew and learned to be a teacher was being in the field. Like getting into my student teaching and my pre-student teaching and just being in the classroom and working with kids, you know, my mentor teachers and things like that. That's where I really did a lot of the learning. I think the university helped facilitate that with coming back and reflecting on what you're learning. And so I think the later part of the ed program was really good, where you could kind of connect and reflect on, you know, your growth as far as what have I learned and where I started and learning about kids and curriculum and classroom management and all that stuff. But I feel like the strongest part of that education was really being in the field and being in the classroom and working directly with kids. Joanne Shine had me for a full year, so it was a really good experience because I was able to see the start of a school year, the end of a school year, and be connected to those kids the whole entire year. Because of that, I also got a lot of teaching time, whereas I didn't have to learn the classroom again. So I think that really kind of elevated my practice, whereas, you know, kids get in and they learn the system and get to know the kids and they teach for a handful of weeks and then they kind of pull back a little bit and then they're ready to try to go into their field and look for jobs. But I was able to get, you know, many weeks of lots of teaching. So she was, you know, really good that way and really reflective. And they did a lot of rotating amongst groups, so I got to work with a lot of other teachers too and get to see a lot of different styles, and they were all wonderful. They took the time to, you know, answer questions and be thoughtful about it and give constructive feedback and allow you to grow, try things, which was, you know, that's their classroom. They didn't have to do that, but knowing that the opportunity that I could do that would help me be a better teacher and hopefully maybe have them learn something from me too. It allowed me to have a little bit more confidence in what I was doing because I had a little bit more, maybe more experience than some of my peers. Because I was also able to try things that worked really well, that helped. I was also to try some things that didn't work so well. But then we were able to kind of talk about it, reflect on it, and say, well, how could I have grown this a little bit differently, or what part didn't work so well, but what was the main part that was really good about it that I could take from it. So that sort of experimentation and trying some things and having lots of successes and lots of failures, but being able to be reflective about that and say, hey, how could I make this lesson better? I think that also allowed me to come into teaching feeling that it's okay to take some risks and try some things and know that that's okay. And if it works, great. How can I make it better? And if it doesn't, how can I sort of revamp it and retool it so that I can make it more successful for the future? When it comes to teaching and stuff, I'm willing to just try whatever it takes for kids to succeed. You know, I mean, sometimes during math class, kids will be standing at the side of their desks and others will be laying over here and they'll be with partners. And so it's a wide variety of sorts of things. But I mean, when it kind of comes to those failures and stuff, I mean, there's days where it's like, you know what, we're gonna stop right now. And I kind of put my hands in my, you know, in my face and you know, and I sort of apologize to the kids and say, this didn't go as well as I thought. And then we just talk about it as a learning experience. And then I sort of put myself out there as, hey, I'm a person just like you. And I make mistakes just like you, and here's the best part about it. I'm gonna learn from it, I'm gonna be a better teacher for you. Just like I expect if you make a mistake that it's okay in the classroom as well. You're gonna hopefully grow from that, and you're gonna be a better person for it as well. So just trying to make that connection with those kids to say, hey, you're not any different than I am. I'm just a bigger version of you and a little older than you, and you're gonna be me someday doing whatever you do, but it's okay, this is how we learn. If I did everything perfectly every time, I'm not going to challenge myself to be a better teacher for you. And the same thing as you as a student. If you get everything the first time through and school ends up being super easy for you, then maybe I didn't do my job as well as I should have. Hearing those stories from former students about times when you did something And it wasn't even like the most glorious, best lesson you've ever taught. The one that you think is like, all right, we put all this effort and work into it, and it was fun and great, but it was like, you know, when you sat down and we told a funny joke at breakfast one day, you know? And so I think that part about being that teacher is not so much about the great lessons that you do, but it's about, you know, the connections that you make with those kids. And then they come back and they tell you about how that was so meaningful to them. And that, I mean, that's why you kind of go back to school every day and work with kids, because it's that major reward that you get from it. And that's the impact for me. Usually we're at school by 20 after 7, 7:30. About 8 o'clock, a little after 8, the kids come, greet them, and then we start getting through our day. We do some team teaching and content specialization. So I teach math in the morning and science for a good chunk of my morning, and then the kids kind of have their break during the midday for lunch and recess, and then I teach another group of kids math and science in the afternoon, and my co-teacher, she teaches English, language arts, writing. So the day is just crazy. I mean, it's crazy. The kids get there and we're working and it's busy, and somebody always kind of needs something, and so once the day starts, it flies by. And then, you know, then we pack them up and they go home and reflect on the day a little bit. I also do driver's education, so usually 1 or 2 days a week, I kind of scoot over to the high school and do driving behind the wheel with students. So we'll go through probably 3 hours of that. So a lot of times I'll get home about 6:45, 7 o'clock at night. You know, after the boys go to bed, then I'll usually do some more paper correcting, you know, emails, and so sometimes it's 10 o'clock at night that those things are happening, but it's got to get done sometime, and I can't usually do it during the day because my impact's with students, so, you know, I need to be working with them, but it's a pretty busy day. When you have 20 kids in your room and they all have different learning styles, they're affected differently about how you talk and your tone and your, you know, some kids just really need to be nurtured. They just really need someone to, you know, look after them and kind of cuddle in with them and understand them in different ways. And then you have other kids that's not how you need to handle them. They're very, very hands off, and so just trying to connect with that kid and figure out what makes them tick. And sometimes in your school year, it goes by so quickly, you don't always get to get in as deep as you like. And so I think those are just the biggest challenges, just trying to be able to meet every single need of every single child. That's tough. And I think that's what's changed a lot about school too, in education. Before it was like, here's a basal reader. No matter where you are in your reading abilities, everyone's gonna read from this book. So the kids that really needed remediation, that was hard to get for them, and the kids that needed pushing and challenging, that was hard for them. And so, you know, being able to just really challenge those high kids and really remediate and bring those young kids up that need those skills and keep everybody going along. There's just a lot. There's a lot to think about and do, and that's the hard part. But it's also the challenging and rewarding part too. When you see those successes, that makes it worthwhile.